Is our recording ability ready?
Ms. Vijay and Mr. Manuel, whenever y'all are ready, we can start recording and broadcasting.
I just started recording. Yes, we are on record.
Thank you. This work session of the GMSD board is now in session, and we will begin today with an annual update. Mr. Manuel?
Yes, if everyone will do me the favor of switching over to your still pictures and then muting yourselves, that'll keep you from popping up in the center feed. Thank you all for joining us today so that we can give an annual update on the great things that have happened this year in the district. It has, despite everything that we've been dealing with COVID, it has been an incredible year. And so I am excited to let our cabinet members share the wonderful things they've been doing. So we will start with Ms. Price.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a beautiful rainy Thursday here in Memphis. We're starting out here with a picture of what our lives have looked like for the last, since March, whatever date, 16th that was. So here is my Brady Bunch, our TLA bunch. All of us have been working hard, and it's been very interesting. So okay. So this year in November, when I returned to district office, our team wanted to refocus. So we started with who we are, what we want to do, and what our purpose was. Our department wanted to rebrand and rename itself. So we started out with our mission statement to really define what it is that we were tasked to do as Germantown Municipal Schools academic department. So we came up with this mission. The mission of teaching, learning, and assessment is to guide, facilitate, and support our students, families, teachers, and administrators in their efforts so that each child is equipped with the knowledge, skills, and habits to be a successful Tennessee-ready graduate. We also decided we wanted to change our name to really define what we do and who we support in the district. And so with that, we renamed ourselves Teaching, Learning, and Assessment. I feel like one piece we might have left out is technology, now that our focus has really shifted there. However, we are Teaching, Learning, and Assessment. So one of the things as I asked our team what we're most proud of, this was the word that came out over and over and over again. The collaboration this year, beginning in November, has been enormous. We kind of redefined some roles, which we'll go over in a minute, but it started that collaboration process. We had teachers meeting at schools for half days to discuss skills of students, to discuss curriculum plans. We have lead teachers or content leads at each of our schools that have been busy helping with textbook selection process, making sure new teachers feel comfortable within the content areas. We also held district-wide meetings with either art for response to intervention or meetings within subgroups such as just elementary ELA or middle school. We were able to reestablish some strong relationships between district office and our schools through all these methods of collaboration. We were included in teacher evaluations this year so that we could help support our school administration, and we were actually complete with all evaluations by December. We also banded together ELL, RTI, which is response to intervention, our English language learners, and our SPED or exceptional student education teachers so that we can make decisions about students who are struggling. We formed a partnership with Methodist Le Bonheur for our health sciences for clinical internships, and as well as RTI, our English language learner teachers have a monthly district meeting so that they're aware of what's going on at each school. some of those department adjustments began as we started realizing the things that we were doing that were working, and then where we had some missing pieces. We didn't want to just hire somebody in our department until we really figured out and made sure we were using everybody's best potential in the areas that they were really passionate about. So we began revising department responsibilities. I had a meeting with each and every member to find out what was their drive and were they missing something. So again, we renamed the department as a team. We kept the department small and redistributed some of those responsibilities. With this, there was a renewed gathering of the team, and now we have 2 people serving at the elementary level, really focusing on either ELA and social studies or math and science to support that. Then at the middle school level, we have 3 people really involved. We have someone that's math and science, shares that science and STEM and CTE piece with Ethan, with Mr. They share it, as well as someone coming in that does high school with language arts. And then we have 2 at the high school level. So we feel like we have a really strong team. And then you add in the content leads that are the next level of support. And next year we'll be adding a few more of those lead positions. The other things we do is we have weekly meetings with our department, and we talk about celebrations for the week, and then we talk about challenges or new projects coming up. And finally, we have bi-weekly meetings with the Exceptional Student Education Department, because we all serve the same students, and it's important that we're on the same page and we're making sure we're headed in one direction. One of the things, as we started talking as a team and talking with our school administration, as well as our content lead, we decided was a challenge for our district and lots of districts across the United States is our grading practices. So we began with a book study. This book here, Charting a Course to Standards-Based Grading, What to Stop, What to Start, and Why It Matters by Tim Westerberg. We passed that out. We bought one of those books for every administrator, principals, and assistant principals, as well as our department and a few other departments here in the district. We then brought Mr. Westerberg here to speak with all of our administration for a full day workshop, just to examine some of those grading practices. We feel like this is a 3-year implementation process to really start changing to a growth mindset and possibly expanding doing standards-based grading into other grade levels. Currently, we have a standards-based grade report card for K2. This year, we're really working on honing on the skills, what that looks like in a rubric form. We'll also be bringing in 3rd grade this year so they can make the transition. And 4th and 5th grade, we'll do a little bit of piloting. All this to say, we've got to keep our teachers informed. We've got to keep them current. We do this by watching what our evaluations tell us. And so we go and we pull data from the State of Tennessee's website so that we can see where our teachers are really rocking it and where our teachers need a little bit of extra support or where they just might be lacking. So we use this data in order to drive our professional development. Some of the professional development we offered this year was obviously around technology, around teachers having really strong meetings together and what should be happening in those meetings, not just talking about field trips or planning what worksheets they were going to copy, but really talking about students and how they were going to make a difference. We also had lots of professional development going on around gifted education at the elementary level, and we're really embarking on a large project with that with the middle school level this year. We had some product presentations or some product professional development. Newsella is one of those products. It is an online news outlet that is has the ability to be adapted. An article can be adapted for the reader's level of reading. And then 95% of our Flex PD was completed by spring break. This means to me that our teachers were engaged, they were taking part in professional development, and they really do appreciate what the district has done with that Flex PD. As we entered into COVID, we realized we had a huge opportunity to really take advantage of teacher time and get out some additional PD. We have had more participation in professional development now that we're using Google Hangouts than we've ever had before. Some of those professional developments were Schoology and Google Hangouts, and we did this for both parents and teachers. Of course, we've got to look at data. I am passionate about data. I don't think it's the only thing, but it's definitely helps us form goals and know where we're headed from where we started. So although we didn't get to do our final STAR assessment, as you can see, in August, our kindergartners were at 40.8% proficiency. And by December, we were at 52.6 proficiency. So we were well on our way. In August, for first grade, we were at 70.7, which shows you that kindergarten is sending us an amazing product. And then by December, we were already at 87.1. So our data was doing nothing but going in the correct direction. ACT, we've celebrated this a lot. We are the highest in the state or ever for our own district at 26.3. To be more proud, though, we had 100% participation and 86.2% college readiness success. That is the true celebration. Our graduation rate is above that 95%, so we're at 95.3. Another area that we really focused on was Algebra 1. For our comprehensive benchmark in the years 17-18, we were at 44.6. For 19-20, we grew to 62.2. We're not where we want to be yet, but wow, that's a 17.6% increase. That's 80 additional students that are now on grade level. That feels good. One of our other big projects was working on our CTE and STEM spaces. And you see a before picture of our CTE space, and you see a draw-up of some things that we're looking to add. We have already ordered new furniture that will arrive this summer 2020. We've also are updating some of our equipment, which will be summer of 2020. And then we look to do some additional things in both rooms over the next 2 years, budget allowing. So epoxying the floors in the CTE room, they're already complete in the STEM room. New lighting in the CTE room and the STEM room, adding HVAC to the shop areas. And then this year we are also able to use title funds to add STEM equipment for Riverdale. So then COVID hit. And in some ways it was a blessing in disguise. Although we all would have rather have been in school, finishing school the way we know how to do it best. Our teachers came out with enormous creativity. They were excited to have a little bit of room to do some things that made them excited about learning and teaching. As you saw the choice boards develop, they also held online Google Hangouts. We had TV station going with different lessons. We were hitting our students in as many ways as possible. We also handed out packets to over 50 students so that they had hard copies if they didn't have access to a printer or good internet service. During this time, we had our first ever parent PD sessions in Google Hangouts, and we had over 500 parents participate in those sessions. We also had 98% of our staff participate in Google Hangouts. Our expectations were that they would give 2 to 3 learning activities per week, as well as meet with our students. They went well above and beyond this. we feel like we were blessed because we got to practice for digital learning. There were lots of other states that had to move right into taking grades and attendance. And we feel like this amount of time gave us the ability to be ready now in the fall. We know where some of the shortfalls are, and we know where we were really strong. One of the products that we adopted during this time to make up for not having use of a library was MyOn, which is an online library with 35,000 titles for grades K through 8. So just that short amount of time that we made that available, there were 7,050 books read, 155,388 pages read, and 66,156 minutes read. I think that's amazing, because if there's one thing I believe, it is that reading changes everything for a student. So although COVID's been hard, it definitely has opened up new possibilities for professional learning and collaboration among our schools. Here are a few examples of some of the things that our teachers were doing: TV, Google Hangouts, and using social media. So a little bit more data on our distance learning tool usage since spring break. Over 9,000 Google Hangout meetings, average length of 25 minutes, 632 staff members participated. That was 98% of our staff. We had staff PD. We were holding 2 to 4, sometimes more PD sessions per week for our teachers. In Schoology alone, there were 80,000 items posted, 33,000 parent sessions, and 162 total sessions. In our GMSD at-home website, there were 1,500 unique users since April 15th. So at the end of this year, we've been reminded that we need to be flexible above all and expect the unexpected. I am extremely proud of our TLA Bunch family and the strength of collaboration between district office departments. Mr. Manuel has been a key component in modeling and supporting our work. Our department also recognizes and is grateful for the GMSD Board of Education support. It definitely takes a village, and you all have been great cheerleaders, and we can't thank you more. I appreciate it, and thanks for listening.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Price. Wonderful updates. We will now go to Ms. Huffman, if you are ready.
Sure. Ms. Crowder, I don't see the PowerPoint anymore. Are you still presenting?
She will. I think she's getting.
Give me just 1 second. The theme of your PowerPoint presentation is beautiful, but it's also embedded into, so it's a separate file. Give me just a second.
Well, you know, us study folk like to be difficult. Good morning. I hope everyone is enjoying this lovely rainy day. Hopefully it's not that way at the lake. Okay, and you can go ahead and flip to the second one. So Gary McKesson once said, the difference between equity and equality is that equality is everyone gets the same thing, and equity is everyone gets the things they deserve. The Exceptional Student Education Department has worked tirelessly this past year to maximize our students' potential in different ways. And so we're going to first start by talking about our preschool program. Our preschool program has really grown over the past year with the addition of the 2 preschool programs at Forest Hill Elementary. So we have worked to increase our inclusive environments at every school. In fact, our positive peers were at 33 this year and will grow to over 55 for next year. The perk for our employees will also expand. Previously, this was only offered at Forest Hill Elementary. Now it will expand to each elementary school. So that way our employees, if they're working at Farmington, if at all possible, we try to place their child with them at Farmington. And then with our speech language pathologist, We really are increasing those opportunities to serve our students in the community, those community preschools that they attend. This year we started with trying to do that just half day, but are going to be able to expand that to 2 full days next year. That way families are not having to leave, get their babies, bring them to our school, and then take them back. Our therapist will actually go visit them at their home, their preschool. And then looking at the other end of the spectrum, our post-secondary successes. We were able to purchase a new handicap accessible van. This was to increase work-based learning opportunities for all students. In the past, we would have to contract with Durham to bring a van over for any student that may need the handicap accessible piece. And so now we have multiple options to get our students out to the different jobs that they work in the community. Now we know with COVID that this may look a little bit different for next year, and we're going to continue to expand these opportunities even within our own schools to make sure that this work does not decrease. This is also year 3 with our transition from school to work grant. It has provided Houston High School with a job coach as well as a transition case manager, Miss Ellis, that you see over here in the picture with Bailey. It has increased our work or our job placement. So Bailey was able to get a job here at Let It Fly. We also have continued our work with Vanderbilt University. This year, they sent out stakeholder surveys to our teachers, our families, really trying to gather where can Germantown continue to improve the services that we're giving and improve those outcomes for our students with disabilities, no matter if we're looking at college or career once they leave us. They also provided resource exchanges. So for instance, Vanderbilt called us and we had a Google Hangout a couple of weeks ago to kind of talk about what did we do during COVID, and they're really trying to gather different things that we've been able to do and serve our students to share across West Tennessee. And then they've provided us with things like the Student Bill of Rights, different resources we're able to share with families at IEP meetings. I've continued serving on the leadership board for Transition Tennessee. This has been extremely beneficial for our district and our ability to get information first as it's coming down from the state. Makes planning a whole lot easier when you get it beforehand. And then we were also asked to host here in Germantown as well as lead transition communities of practice. So these were held quarterly until COVID hit. So that was another fun opportunity with our students in high school. Another way we've been increasing and maximizing our students' potential is through successful implementation of the alternate academic diploma. This is year 2. So we have freshmen and sophomores that are participating and working towards this diploma option. This is a very difficult diploma option. You have to earn the same amount of credits as your regular high school diploma. And so what we've been able to do in year 2 is we've been able to create these courses and offer them in both the general education and special ed setting, depending on the student's least restrictive environment. And then one of the great people, Ms. Cochran, that works in my department, actually created these course selection sheets. So our freshmen, sophomore, junior, and seniors all are able the year before to have choice in the courses that they take where choice was available. As you can see, freshmen, it's a little bit more limited, but that's just like our other freshmen. So we're really looking at where can we make things more equitable across any programs that we're offering here in Germantown. The next celebration that I'm excited about is our growth with serving that whole child. So Miss Rhodes, who has just been incredible as our behavior interventionist and is moving to have some more responsibilities this fall, she worked with and supported our social emotional learning teacher and behavior paraprofessional this year. These 2 personnel supported all of our schools and students in their least restrictive environment. So if a student was having issues and different things navigating the classroom, instead of pulling that child out, those personnel are actually able to go in the classroom and, coach the student himself or herself, the classmates around them, that teacher, to really make sure that students are able to be successful in their least restrictive environment. So we're teaching those behavior, those social emotional skills, just like we are our academics. And this has resulted in a decrease in our isolation and restraint data for Germantown. It's a big celebration. COVID celebrations. It's one of those, we choose our attitude, right? As Ms. Price was saying, we would have all preferred to be in school. But because that was not an option, there were things that happened that I look back and say, wow, we've had the opportunity to really grow in a lot of ways. Maybe not by choice, but I'm grateful for them anyway. So first, our virtual IEP meetings. I think we'd been out a day or two before my team and I developed virtual meeting procedures, and right away contacted DocuSign, and we're like, hey, we got to find a way to make this happen and continue the work with our students and make sure that families are able to participate in their IEP meetings. And so that week of spring break, my office held virtual IEP meetings with families to trial it out and tweak our procedures to make sure then when we train staff and administrators that we'd worked out all the kinks. So this was a huge win. And I think we started before any of the surrounding places, just wanting to make sure, one, that we could stay in compliance as much as possible and also address any needs that might be coming up during the closure for families. We did this also immediately by sending out a Sky Alert and getting consent from our families to share those files. Another celebration with our students is the opportunities that the kids had to participate with their teachers. So the video, and I was telling everyone yesterday, this little guy in the video I actually had in preschool, so it's extra special to me to now see him as a grown man and just the growth he's had. But we really engaged with our students. So in addition to what was happening in Tier 1, we were providing that additional layer of support, whether that was through accommodating or modifying activities that were available or additional hangouts for students or families. We implemented telesupport for related services. So our occupational speech and language supports continued for those parents that opted in to receive that service. And then maybe you were able to see the news, but this was one thing that was highlighted. And I think Ms. Price shared a social media picture. We really looked for innovative learning opportunities. And so Miss Ellis and Miss Gray worked with Pizza Hut to get this project donated and continued those life skills when the students were still at home. Another piece that we did that you can see our Brady Bunch photo here on the screen, a lot of staff training and support. So first we were able to set up and work with human resources to set up Insights for Behavior, which is typically a program that we had used in special education or with counselors, but really felt like this would be a good learning opportunity for our classified staff. So we set it up, and then Ms. Stratton and Mr. Grace ran with it and supported those classified folks. We trained our staff on the virtual meeting procedures, as I was talking about prior, and also on data collection. What does that look like in the virtual world? And how do we need to change practices or interventions that we're giving? Mr. Cooper from the TLA department was able to offer Schoology sessions just for ESE staff. So what does that look different for those teachers, and really helped support them during the closure? And then office hangouts. My department held office hours twice a week for an hour for any administrator or teacher to hop on and answer any questions or just give support or cry together, whatever needed to happen. We were there for our folks. So looking ahead, there's two, this is kind of one of the many things we're focusing on for next year. But an exciting thing is our special education developmental grant. And so what does this grant provide? It's a competitive grant, so we were very excited and celebrated when we were able to, when we found out we received this from the state. But it's where general ed and special ed work together. There's such great collaboration between Ms. Price's department and my department, and this is only going to strengthen it. But we have an early childhood component as well as a K-12 component. It will provide $20,000 additional dollars for instructional supplies and evaluation materials. The focus is going to be around access to that core instruction, so differentiation and scaffolding for every student. It's a 4-year phased implementation. In fact, I think just this week we found out they've already shifted their focus to how do we support teachers supporting kids in a digital environment? And so they know, just like we know, we're having to shift what support looks like. So we're excited about having that. And then next would be the work we're doing with our intellectually gifted students. Ms. Price kind of mentioned some of the professional development that's currently going on, but we are just excited about what's going to happen at the middle school level, that we're really wanting to mirror what's happening at the elementary school already to individualizing those supports at the middle school level. So step 1 was the development of instructionally appropriate IEPs. So meeting with families of those students and kind of talking about the shifts and supporting students in their area of giftedness and not just that gifted language arts. So I really want to end this by saying that collaboration with general ed on the development of curriculum, I'm excited about where this is going to go, and our teachers are going to be supported as well as those students day 1 when we return. And with that, that's all. Well, I could talk the rest of the day, but I'm trying to keep to my time limit. But with that, I will end ESC.
Thank you, Ms. Huffman. I believe that Mr. Bland is next. Ms. Crowder, if you can get that presentation ready.
Good morning, everybody. You can go ahead and go to the second slide. Okay, so this year we successfully opened Forest Hill Elementary, and this successful opening was due to the hard work of all departments within GMSD. The Office of Student Service worked diligently to create options for new attendance zones and provided projected student numbers for enrollment. One of the biggest concerns we have each year is the amount of time. We're back on the second slide. One of the biggest concerns we have each year is the amount of time parents spend at schools for new student registration. So this year we developed a process for parents to choose their time to take the necessary documents to meet with school officials to complete the registration process. Appointments are held in blocks, which are usually 30 minutes in length, and eliminate the need for parents to stand in lengthy lines. In the area of social work and counseling, Mrs. Law created a reentry process that helps students transition back into the regular education setting. Mrs. Law meets with students, parents, and administration to discuss the transition, the goals, and what to do if problems arise in the future. School counselors also helped with identifying and reaching out to families in need during the quarantine. Resources were provided to the community, and Mrs. Law was able to personally deliver food and care packages to some families in need. This year, we were also fortunate to be able to add a district office social worker to the department, and Mrs. Kennedy hit the ground running. She quickly established relationships with administrators and school counselors. She completed a total of 471 service units, which equates to touches with students and or parents with herself or other school counselors. During the COVID-19 quarantine, Mrs. Kennedy developed a series of blogs each week that dealt with several topics or issues that students, parents, or the community may have been going through. These seem to be really helpful as we receive several emails thanking her for publishing these blogs each week. This year, health screening reports, which were usually sent home with students on paper, were made available through Family Access and Skyward. This allows parents to see their students' information at any time and to be able to track it over the years. Also, Q3 and Q4 report cards were made available through Family Access and Skyward. During the time we were out of school due to COVID-19, students at the middle school level were supposed to pick courses and electives for the 2021 school year. We worked with Skyward to have these courses available for 6-8 students to be able to choose the electives they wanted and not have to resort to some sort of lottery. For the Office of Coordinated School Health, Mr. Fisher does a great job each year. This year, he was able to certify 800 9th and 11th grade students. Also, walk across Tennessee, those registration numbers were up, and for our K-5 students, they were able to log over 37,000 miles within the allotted time frame. Also, with Coordinated School Health, we're very fortunate to be able to have the amount of AED machines that we have in the district. Some districts are, working with one per building, and through grants and monies awarded from various community partners, we're able to have a total of 20 AED machines in the district. Also, this year, we were able to complete the process of having evacuation bags updated and distributed to all schools, all teachers, and each department and district office. These evacuation bags are critical to the process, to the evacuation process, and gives teachers some of the tools they will need until the reunification process is complete. And then with the Office of Safety and Security, one of the requests that we received from the Houston High Schools administration was to have some of the buildings labeled. We also viewed it as a safety concern to have individuals wandering around campus and entering buildings and entrances other than the main entrance. So working with operations department, they were able to add secured entrances to Houston High School. And once that process was completed, we were able to get the buildings labeled. The Houston High School across the front of the building, we were able to label the main entrance so that people coming up wouldn't walk into the front of the school and have direct access to any classroom in the building. We also put a sign in between the auditorium and gymnasium to label those buildings as well. Mr. Cron, we also contracted with InterQuest K9 to conduct random searches of vehicles on campus. And those searches are done monthly, and they're done without notice to school administration. InterQuest will reach out to Mr. Crump the day of and let him know, and the searches take place shortly after. Mr. Crump worked with Ms. Kennedy to create the class campaign, which stands for Close, Locked, and Stay Safe. This campaign encourages students and others in the building to not open doors for individuals trying to gain interest from the outside, and letting them know they need to report to the front office. They also work with Mr. Rob Manuel and Mrs. Crowder to produce a video to increase the awareness about class. And we will take a brief second to look at that video.
We're not able to hear the sound right now, Ms. Crowder. Unmute your feed.
Sorry, I think that's why I had unmuted previously. Give me just a second and we will try that again.
You already know not to open the door for strangers. There are many other scary different kinds of dangers. One safety tip to protect your school. Let the adults decide who gets to go through.
We got class, locked and students to stay. We got class, we get the light and shout it time. We got class, locked and students to stay. We got class, we get the light and shout it time. We got class, locked and students to stay. We got class, we get the light and shout it time. We got class, locked and students to stay.
Hey, there's a guy at the door and he wants you to let him in. Hey, there's a clown at the door though.
What about that mom with some muffins, yo?
Hey, there's a guy in a suit. He looks legit.
We got class, locked and the students to stay. We got class, we get the light and shut it time. We got class, locked and the students to stay. We got class, we get the light and shut it time. We got class, locked and the students to stay. We got class, we get the light and shut it time. We got class, locked and the students to stay.
So remember, kids, don't ever open that door, even if you think it's someone that you've seen before. Every kid's in charge of a job that is so large, but we'll keep each other safe all together, keeping this place great.
So those are some of the things that we've been working on in the Student Services Department, and I really appreciate the principal's willingness to participate in that fine video you just saw. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bland. With that, we will now move to Ms. Stratton in HR.
So that's a really tough act to follow. That video is awesome. Good morning, everybody. This is Alyssa Stratton, and I am excited to share with you how the GMSD Human Resources Department supported our schools and collaborated with various district departments to recruit, develop, and retain an exemplary staff for the 1920 school year. So when thinking about our journey to recruit new and veteran educators to support our students, HR has facilitated various opportunities for prospective teachers to get to know our GMSD students and staff. Whether it is hosting out-of-town applicants to spend the day visiting our GMSD schools, attending career fairs, either in person or virtually meeting up with applicants using Google Hangouts Meet, or using our applicant tracking system called Frontline to advertise available job opportunities in GMSD throughout the United States, HR is working hard to recruit a variety of qualified staff to our district. This year, HR either formed or continued partnerships with a total of 9 regional universities for our schools to host student teaching and/or field experience placements. Teacher candidates spent a total of over 522 hours observing, modeling, and learning from GMSD exemplar teachers to improve their teaching techniques. In addition, these teacher candidates were able to share with their mentor teachers and GMSD students the latest teaching strategies that are based in research best practice. This collaborative approach with local universities has continued to prove beneficial for GMSD on a recruiting front, as we've just hired 2 of our 1920 student teachers, an elementary teacher from Delta State and a SPED teacher from the University of Memphis for the 2021 school year. In addition, in 2019, GMSD saw the return of our most effective recruiting events called School Snapshots. Over the course of a week in March, all 6 of our GMSD schools hosted a meet and greet for prospective teachers. This event is always such a powerful recruiting tool because our applicants are able to truly get a feel for the people who work for GMSD, resources available to GMSD educators, and the students they will be supporting. And I thought it was important for you all to hear some feedback that we received from an applicant who attended our elementary snapshot events. So the email I received reads as follows. I just wanted to touch base with you about my visits to the elementary schools in GMSD. All 4 schools had their own wonderful characteristics. I love the neighborhood feel at Dogwood and Farmington. Farmington's immense PTO involvement was truly astonishing. Having that much support from families makes teaching a more pleasant experience for both teachers and students alike. Despite Riverdale focusing heavily on their middle grades, the school's technology integration was spectacular. With that being said, I was most blown away by Forest Hill. I am so glad you encouraged me to visit this new school. The building itself was a dream come true from a teaching perspective, with all of the technology, special classroom areas, and overall fun learning environment. I also really love meeting the teachers and hearing how much they've enjoyed Forest Hill. I got a chance to meet Kendra Pickens, the assistant principal. She is so sweet and enthusiastic. She told me about her transition to Forest Hill and how excited she is to see it grow and develop in the coming years. Forest Hill seems to really have it all, except for me. I have fallen in love with the Germantown Municipal School District. Seriously, not only has every member I have met thus far been kind and welcoming, they have also been passionate about bettering children's lives. This is the kind of district I want to call my family. I will continue to watch for posted positions from all of the schools, and I hope you will keep me in mind when looking to hire an outstanding teacher for your district. I'm so grateful this applicant was able to see what we know to be true regarding employees working for our district and the amazing opportunities that come with being a part of the GMSD work family. We had a total of 98 teacher applicants attend our school snapshot event. To date, 62 of those attendees have applied to GMSD job postings, and we've hired 9 of these attendees for the 2021 school year so far. So as we transition to how GMSD has developed an exemplary staff this year, it's important to note that multiple district-level departments have played a role in providing meaningful professional development for our staff this year. Our teaching, learning, and assessment, student services, and exceptional student education departments have taken the lead on offering numerous instructional, social-emotional, safety, and technology-based PD sessions that help our teachers improve their teaching strategies. Our finance department has worked with our administrators, financial secretaries, and booster clubs on appropriate spending and financial reporting measures. And our communications department has helped all our staff refine their presence on social media, as well as provided written communication on a regular basis by publishing GMSD's first ever employee monthly newsletter called The Staffer. HR's focus this year was to provide differentiated PD opportunities to various cohorts of employees. For our administrators and district office leaders, we piloted a staff ethics training using a program called ProEthica. This training provided vignettes depicting typical professional ethical dilemmas teachers and administrators encounter, and how the model teacher code of ethics can be used to make decisions that inspire confidence from parents, colleagues, and the community. And we plan to offer this training with our blue chip cohorts for the 2021 school year. Speaking of blue chips, we expanded our teacher induction program by adding a 4th year blue chip cohort, which supports our non-tenured teachers in GMSD. Currently, we have 143 non-tenured teachers receiving both school and district level professional development and support in one of 4 of our cohorts. Our Year 4 Blue Chips focused on the topic of professional development and transitioning from simply attending PD sessions to actually leading them at their schools. Year 4 Blue Chips were challenged to create, offer, and facilitate an instructional PD session at their school for flex credit. For our classified staff, time spent working from home due to COVID-19 provided an unexpected opportunity to offer online professional development trainings in the areas of customer service and student behavior management. For the months of April and May, we had 100% participation rate for 115 classified staff members working through online trainings from the Master Teacher and Insights to Behavior platforms. In addition, classified staff, along with school assistant principals and HR, participated in weekly virtual PLC meetings to discuss the information contained in the online trainings. The weekly virtual PLC meetings were so beneficial that our schools are looking for ways to schedule regular classified staff meetings once we return from the 2021 school year. In thinking strategically, retaining an exemplary staff to work for GMSD, pay is always an important compensation factor for applicants as well as our current employees. With the support of Superintendent Manuel and our Germantown Board of Education, GMSD was able to honor the work our employees give to their students and the district by making employee compensation a priority for the 2021 budget. All GMSD employees will see a 2% increase built into their salary schedules for the 2021 school year. In addition, HR worked with Health Cost Solutions to make small tweaks to our 3 medical plan documents so that medical premium rates did not have to increase for a 7th straight year. Also, GMSD assistants will see an hourly rate of pay adjustment to their salary schedules to be competitive with surrounding districts. And finally, GMSD transitioned to a percentage-based pay instead of a flat rate stipend for the extra hours our coaches, directors, and sponsors give to our students each semester. And I think we all realize there are numerous priorities that were not able to be included in the 2021 budget due to COVID-19 concerns. The compensation priorities that were able to be honored in this year's budget are directly supported by GMSD's strategic plan focusing on goal number 2, recruit, develop, and retain an exemplary staff. These have been ongoing conversations between all of our stakeholders as well. Specifically, the topic of assistant pay was a consistent theme in many of our 2025 strategic planning focus group sessions. And I'd like to share with you an email I received from a SPED assistant who was a part of the HR 2025 strategic planning focus group once she heard the news that the assistant salary schedule was changing. The email reads as follows. Your news this morning on our Hangout literally made me cry. The difference in our SPED assistants pay and Carterville SPED assistants pay was my main concern that I brought to the focus group meeting. The fact that I was heard and then it was acted upon is just overwhelmingly exciting. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so very much. HR is grateful of the support Superintendent Manuel and our GMSD Board of Education gives to helping us retain an exemplary staff. And I'm almost done, but I don't think we can reflect upon HR's work this year without mentioning our response in supporting our staff through COVID-19. With the support of the GMSD School Board, HR was able to recommend 2 personnel policies relating to COVID-19. Both of these policies provided clear directives to our employees regarding their work expectations and leave options as related to COVID-19. In addition, HR partnered with Health Cost Solutions to offer a telehealth provider to our employees and dependents who are currently enrolled in our medical insurance plans. This resource allows our employees and covered dependents to have access to a medical doctor via phone or video consultation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from the comfort and safety of their homes to address common medical conditions that do not require emergency attention. There is no cost or copay to the employee for using CallAdoc. HR collaborated with Superintendent Manuel, school principals, the Teaching, Learning, and Assessment, Exceptional Student Education, and Communications departments to set minimum work expectations for certified and classified staff. And we collaborated on regular email communication with all staff to keep them informed of various changes made by the State Department of Education. HR also worked with American Fidelity to move our yearly benefits open enrollment totally online. All 637 employees completed their benefits enrollment for the 2021 school year online within a 2-week time frame this year. And finally, HR supported our employees during COVID by assisting them with their amended FMLA leave, quickly enrolling 13 families on GMSD health insurance due to the loss of their spouse's jobs, explaining adjustments to flexible spending accounts, and communicating procedures for receiving free COVID tests. So I just want to wrap up my presentation by saying how humbled I am to work with the following members of the GMSD HR department. Mason Grace, Pat Pritchard, and Gita Edelman work tremendously hard every day to support the staff of GMSD. And I want to leave you with some feedback HR's received from our employees regarding the support they've been given from the HR department over the course of the year. This is included in the slide being displayed right now. We always offer any person the option to share their feedback with HR by providing a link to a survey as part of our email signature. So at this time, I'll turn the presentation over to Superintendent Manuel, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Stratton, for all your work and your team. Let's go ahead and move to Mr. Jones.
Good morning. Kate, are you going to display my PowerPoint? Thanks. Again, good morning. I thought I'd share with you some of the accomplishments within the finance department for this past year, the 1920 school year. Our departmental focus was in regards mainly to policy and procedure development, as well as looking at our departmental and providing structural updates. In purchasing, our department adopted the values and guiding policies as established by the NIGP Institute of Public Procurement. In accountability, we are taking ownership and being responsible to stakeholders for our actions in order to preserve the public trust and protect the public's interest. Ethics, acting in a manner true to these values, essential to preserve the public's trust. And also in our purchasing process, impartiality, unbiased decision-making, and actions which ensure fairness for the public. In November 2019, we updated the procurement policy and procedures manual, and it was reissued. We also provided in-services to various central office staff to go over those changes in the manual. We were also fortunate to hire a purchasing analyst with significant K-12 purchasing experience. This position assists with purchases, bids, including construction projects and RFPs. Our purchasing card program, we look to expand that this past year, and our manual was updated and reissued in September 2019. This program was established to reduce the district's reliance on paper checks, also taking advantage of available rebates. It basically enhanced some of our security spending controls that aren't available through a traditional credit card program. We were able to reduce the workload in the accounts payable process. And most importantly, we eliminated the need for staff to use personal funds when traveling. The budget development process, a budget entry process reference guide was written in February of 2020. This new process allows users involved in the budget development process to use Skyward for budget entry. Capital and other projects accounting. We developed a new feature in Skyward to track capital project expenditures for the operations department. We wrote a corresponding procedure manual and issued that in February of 2020. We are also using this feature to track COVID-19 related expenditures. School support organization updates. In May 2020, the Tennessee Comptroller's Office prepared and issued the Model Financial Policy for School Support Organizations. This manual has been shared by the district with SSOs just last month. It provides recommendations for accounting policies and internal controls to assist SSO members and officers in improving accountability over SSO funds. We also plan to have future in-services to introduce staff and members to these new requirements. Online payment systems updates, enhancing the use of My School Bucks at the school level. This is just giving the options or more options for parents to pay for fees, field trips, etc. online. We also started using the Arbiter Pay system in January of 2020. This is a system that assigns our referees and compensates them for work. It also generates the 1099 at the end of the calendar year, saving the district time, specifically the financial secretaries, as well as administrative costs. And that concludes my report.
Okay, we are ready. Thank you, Mr. Jones. We are ready for Mr. Pierce.
Good morning, everybody. Wait just a second for the presentation to load. All right, as part of the technology highlights of this year, we're going to be focusing on a theme of easy. We're trying to make things easier for staff, easier for students, easier for everyone involved. So the biggest thing that we did this year was transition students and staff to a Google environment. Again, you'll see the word easy as part of peppered throughout this slide. The Google platform is just a much easier platform to share documents, spreadsheets, presentations, to collaborate. It obviously provides an easier meeting platform, which we're currently using. Everyone has become quite familiar with. And it's a much easier interface for email management, both for the students and staff and for us as a department to manage. We also have unlimited cloud storage for everyone involved. Students and staff can both store as much as they like on it and can share amongst each other to their heart's content as much as needed. As a side effect of transitioning to Google, this has allowed us to move to Chromebooks for students. We are currently in the midst of getting ready to deploy 1,100 Chromebooks for 9th and 10th graders, which comes as a cost savings to the districts of a little over $750,000. And what this does, in addition to financial savings, is it makes the experience a much more uniform and easier experience for both from a curriculum and instruction perspective and from a technology management perspective. So again, it makes things easier for all parties involved. In addition to the one-to-one Chromebooks that we're getting ready to deploy, we also deployed almost 1,300 Chromebooks for K through 8 students, primarily in science classes and at the lower grade levels, including Forest Hill, Irene. Network enhancements. We are working our way towards ludicrous speeds. We replaced cabling at Riverdale Elementary, effectively increasing network speeds by almost a factor of 100 in some areas of the building. We also added, or in the midst of adding, 154 wireless access points to several buildings across the districts. Once we're complete with that, every single classroom in the district will have its own wireless access point to support mobile devices and a blended learning environment. And as part of the COVID-related closures, we also delivered 160 devices to elementary students of need for distance learning opportunities during the COVID-related closures. And even though it's not mentioned on this slide, we also delivered over 30 devices to classified staff members that did not have a device of their own to participate in HR-related functions and professional development opportunities. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce, for getting us ludicrous speed. We will move to Mr. Cathy next.
All right, thank you. While Ms. Crowder gets the PowerPoint up, I hope this storm that's coming through is nice to us and doesn't knock the power out. All right, I will go ahead and get started. I'd like to go through our capital projects and what we've been able to accomplish there. At Dogwood Elementary School, we've invested and completed projects totaling over $2.7 million. Most recently, we completed bathroom renovations, an outdoor basketball court, a new playground, and painting at Dogwood. We are currently completing a Dogwood ADA project as well, including a new secure entrance and above ceiling overhaul that will include new ceiling tile and grid, new LED lights, new technology cabling, and a new sprinkler system. Once completed, this will bring our total investment in Dogwood to over $6 million. On the next slide, we always like to keep track of how we are funding these capital projects, as we have 3 different buckets that we pull from: Shelby County Commission funding, our general fund with GMSD, and the City of Germantown capital funding. So you can see at Dogwood, we have 38% of our funding coming from the Shelby County Commission, 34% coming from the Germantown Municipal School District, and 28% coming from the City of Germantown. At Farmington Elementary School, we have invested and completed projects totaling over $2.5 million. Most recently, we completed bathroom renovations and portable demolition, eliminating the last 4 older portables that were left over from Shelby County schools. There was some symbolic meaning to that project, as when we started our district over 6 years ago, we inherited 27 of those portables, 23 at Riverdale and 4 at Farmington. And they are now all gone, and we have removed those and replaced them with better facilities. The next slide shows how we have paid for these projects to date at Farmington, with 79% of the funding coming from the Shelby County Commission and 20% of the funding coming from the Germantown Municipal School District. At Houston Middle School, we have invested and completed projects totaling over $200,000. Most recently, we completed repaving and a gym floor replacement, moving from VCT tile to hardwood. We have also done some other smaller projects here, as we have done at our other schools, that include library carpeting replacements, water bottle filling stations, and other miscellaneous items. The next slide shows how we paid for these projects to date at Houston Middle School, with 100% of the funding come from the Germantown Municipal School District General Fund. At Houston High School, we have invested and completed projects totaling over $5 million. Most recently, we completed security improvements, as Mr. Bland mentioned earlier, that added a door into our main office for secure entry, as well as fencing between the A building and main building, and fencing in the courtyard, as well as painting of Houston High School. As the board is also aware, we are currently completing several projects at Houston High School, including the athletic field house, the band addition, the concession stand and paddock, and we recently completed the auditorium renovation over Christmas break and bleeding a little bit into the fall or into the spring semester. Once we are finished with these projects, our total investment at Houston High School will be over $11 million. And you can see on the next slide, we have several different funding sources for Houston High School. GMSD makes up 52% of that funding. 18% has been from the Shelby County Commission. We have 15% from private donors, 8% from the City of Germantown, and 7% PEG funding for the TV studio. At Riverdale, we have invested in completed projects totaling over $17 million. The addition at Riverdale was our first large undertaking as a district of a facilities project, during which we got to establish a brand for Germantown Schools facilities. Most recently, we completed a boiler chiller renovation project at Riverdale that included the demolition of the existing boiler and chiller, new HVAC units, a new energy management system, which we now have at all of our schools, an energy management system, new ceiling tile and grid, new LED lights, and new windows. As the board is also aware, we are currently completing painting at Riverdale, which will bring our total investment at Riverdale to over $17.5 million once completed. This year, we also, how the funding breaks down there, we have 55% coming from the city of Germantown and 45% coming from Germantown Municipal Schools. This year, we also completed Forest Hill Elementary School. It's noteworthy that this was a 3-year endeavor that began in September of 2016 with the intentions of addressing growth and overcrowding at our elementary schools. We had land option forums, surveys, school site analysis committees, land option community forums, and the list goes on of engagement. As a result of the process that we went through, our school board voted in April of 2017 to purchase land on Forest Hill Irene Road. From March to September of 2017, we met as a design committee to engage many stakeholders and seek feedback on the design of our new school, while also going through the review process. The review process and approval process includes the Board of Zoning and Appeals, the Design Review Commission, the Planning Commission, State Fire Marshal, local fire marshal, and local code enforcement. We also did a site clearing package just to get the site ready for construction and executed that in January of 2018. In March, we put out a bid for the construction of our new elementary school. There were over 100 questions that came in and 6 addendums that had to be issued, along with a tremendous amount of difficulty and challenge in designing to a budget, as there were literally hundreds of decisions from brick to glass type to fixtures, technology, playground equipment, and the list goes on. We were proud to bring a bid to the school board in April of 2018, which was within our budget. This basically gave us a little over a year to build an over 100,000 square foot building. There were challenges throughout construction of this building, some of which included one of the highest rainy springs on record in the history of Shelby County, challenges throughout the project with MLGW, elevator inspection, and the list goes on. Final approvals inspections were also a challenge with a tight timeline towards the end of the project. Completing this project in the time frame we had was a mammoth task. I really think one of the cool and special things about this building is it gave us a chance to further our brand. And I think something that makes our brand very special is that we have so much engagement throughout our process. What makes the building really special is it really is a collective embodiment of how great we are because we embrace the power of we. There are pieces of design and elements of this building that literally came from input from hundreds of people. I believe our level of engagement and our willingness to listen is one of the many things that makes us special as a district. The next slide shows how we have paid for Forest Hill Elementary School. So the funding, 90% came from the city of Germantown and 10% came from the Germantown Municipal School District. We also completed our district office in the fall of 2019 and moved in over fall break. This building really gave us a home, and I think that's the best way I know how to say it. It gave us a home for our district office employees, a home for our school board and school board meetings, and a building that reflects our values as GMSD. As I'm sure all of you remember and are aware, the layout at Carrefour was not ideal. We were fragmented in 4 separate spaces. We did not have enough spaces for conferences and meetings, and we were in a shopping center with a liquor store and a gun store. That wasn't the image we wanted to project when we had parents, politicians, staff, and many other visitors that came through our space at Carrefour. While it served us well, we now have a building that we can be proud of and have given our district a permanent home for many years to come. The next slide shows the funding for our district office. That funding was 100% from GMSD. We invested $4 million in that facility. This is a list of our capital improvement projects that is in our capital improvement plan for FY20. Highlighted in yellow, the board is aware these are projects that we are going to have to defer and that we have deferred into our next fiscal year. And the projects that are highlighted in green are the projects that are currently underway and are undergoing construction as we speak. You can go to the next slide. Finally, here's a screenshot that shows our maintenance work order software, School Dude. As you can see here, we are approaching and have passed 12,000 work orders for maintenance in the district as we finish our 6 years of district. This averages out to around 2,000 work orders per year, which equates to 5 to 6 work orders per day. You can also see that we have over 3,000 preventive maintenance or PMs that our district completes, which includes our plant managers and operations staff. I can't thank our facility staff enough. While there have been a lot of people working from home during COVID, our plant managers, operations staff, maintenance staff, and custodial staff have been reporting to our buildings every day to continue maintenance, cleaning, and ongoing capital improvement projects. They have stayed in our buildings into the nights many times when we've had facilities issues that threaten to close school throughout our 6 years as a district. There may come a day when we have to close a school due to a facilities issues, but in 6 years, our operations staff has yet to let that happen. Our operations staff wears that as a badge of honor and is very proud of that accomplishment. This is a dedicated group of individuals, and I cannot thank them enough for the sacrifices they make in order to keep our district great. That concludes my report, and I'll turn it back over to Mr. Manuel.
Thank you, Mr. Katz, for all your work. And last but not least, Ms. Crowder with communications.
Thank you for your patience while we're switching between these slideshows. It's a few clicks. So I'm going to start by just mentioning that you guys have already attended the events this year. You've seen the presentations. You've read these publications. This year has been incredible, but it's been like no other. Building on the work of previous years, our department was able to offer bigger and more elaborate events, increase communication efforts, and show progress towards strategic goals. Because you've already seen the finished products, my presentation today will focus on the things that you may not have seen. I'd like to provide the board a glimpse behind the curtain of our process, behind the scenes, which includes the work of multiple people and a fundamental emphasis on the why of all of our projects, communications, and events. Our first highlight centers around the focus of our annual communication goal. The superintendent at the beginning of the year worked with us to create an intentional and structured system for internal communications. With the formation of any good plan, you must begin by identifying the needs of each of your targeted audiences. So first, school board, we identified you. You are one of our most important audiences, as one of your essential functions is to aid in the promotion of the district. And we wanted to continue the good things that we do, like our public superintendent's report that's unique to GMSD, and what I consider to be a strength in comparison to other districts. But how could we go from good to great? Accordingly, the superintendent's report received a roadmap this year. It's not fancy, like some of my work is, but here's an image of it. We were planning and tracking to make sure that we're offering equal updates for the public and for the board on each one of our strategic plan goals. And planning these reports this year in advance with the superintendent effectively moved their creation from being reactionary to a proactive and balanced presentation that you got to watch each month. We also organized a detailed digital archive, making those reports easy to find on our website and then easy to share immediately following each meeting. More specifically, though, for board members and the superintendent's cabinet, last summer we premiered a magazine that we called the District Update. There are some topics that may not be appropriate or time efficient for a superintendent's report, but would provide information about either routine work or simply aspirational ideas being discussed in any one of our 8 departments. Each month, the cabinet members would submit a list of things that they are working on. And in past years, this list was compiled and emailed to board members. While these lists were useful, they also contained a mixture of educational jargon, acronyms, and almost required a pedagogical knowledge of educational administration that may not have been resonating with our intended audience. The superintendent's vision was to expand this monthly list by cultivating pull-out articles that went into greater detail about particular items, things like PCM training, the team model, state-mandated AMOs, or the procedural process for receiving federal monies tied to attendance. More importantly, it gave the board an in-depth look at what is coming next, long before the new initiatives or the educational shifts, programmatic changes are suggested at board meetings. I hope that the monthly District Update magazine has provided not only ongoing insights about the work being done by our GMSD leadership, but has also served as a touchstone resource throughout the year for our board members. The next directive we were given was to launch GMSD's first employee newsletter. This monthly publication was to replace a lot of things. The superintendent's letters, which made district-wide announcements and delivered messages of aspiration or gratitude towards the staff. The weekly recap, a collection by my department that posted positive articles and sent them to our staff each week. Policy updates from different department members, and important announcements from human resources. Giving our staff access to all of these items in one email that could be found in your inbox on the 15th of each month for our staff members was not a small feat. So first, we assembled a really good planning team and spent hours coming up with how this should look. Our team, helmed by the superintendent, we also decided to strategically and thematically weave in his annual message. This year, the message was centered around the importance of helping our students belong. Likewise, HR's annual Hot Topic Personnel Policies presentation was woven with the superintendent's message to arrive at a monthly theme that was pre-planned at the beginning of the school year. With focused and meaningful approaches, the GMSD staffer kept our employees in the loop about capital improvement projects, opportunities for engagement on district decisions, highlighted wonderful stories about our staff and students, included a master calendar component so they could support athletic events, concerts, and performances across the district. And at the end of the day, too, I think in general, it was a unifying thing for all of the departments at central office to work on such an ambitious project. Speaking of ambitious projects, we also revamped what we used to call our cabinet communications. Originally, cabinet communications was a collection of vital information that was placed in Microsoft OneNote by individual cabinet members and was shared between the leadership team and the school principals. The cabinet and principals collaborated this year to create a vision for what we're calling the CABCOM. And this is published every Friday, which is a change from the cabinet communications, which was published every 2 weeks. In addition to making changes to the look and feel of this document to increase mobile accessibility, we added some features with the school principal in mind. We itemized and prioritized the list for their weekly meetings with assistant principals, along with adding the assistant principals to the distribution list after some feedback from them. Furthermore, the superintendent personally read each week everything submitted by cabinet members and chose the content for pull-out articles in the CABCOM, a process very similar to the district update that we practice with the board. The CABCOM was also archived in a digital space with a clickable table that had a table of contents where you would have easy historical reference for our school administrators who are incredibly busy people. Lastly, and most importantly, in conjunction with another directive by the superintendent, the focus of the CABCOM was on leadership development, which included articles meant not just to inform about policy changes or district initiatives, but also to develop them as professionals. Special weekly sections created by each cabinet member were devoted to scenario-based learning and were even able to be discussed in their monthly administration meetings. So shifting gears, there we go. Shifting gears, GMSD also continued to focus on providing world-class events. We take great pride in pushing the envelope every year by improving each event and adding new experiences for our communities. I could probably talk about the planning process or each individual event for this entire presentation. So in the interest of time, I'm simply going to list them because, like I said before, you were there. The Landers Ford Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, the Forest Hill Ribbon Cutting festivities, the groundbreaking for both the Fieldhouse and the Band Edition, leadership lessons from GMSD for Leadership Germantown, Tour GMSD, the Houston High School College and Career Ready Fair, the Regional TSBA Arts Showcase, Biscuits and Bills, the Forever Frozen Parade Float, the charity basketball game, and the Houston High School celebration of seniors in the face of the pandemic. I have got to stop and let you know that our department could not ask for a better leader in Superintendent Manuel. His whimsical approach and his dedication to hard work should not go unnoticed by this board, as he personally originates many of the ideas for these creative events that you've enjoyed. He's also the first person to help arrive for setup and the last person to leave at cleanup. His support makes what you've seen possible this year. Now, if you combine that with a former theater teacher and an exceptional staff, these events are well planned, they're well executed, and they are heavy on the details. And it is the little details, I believe, that resonate with our guests, down to the interactive centerpieces at a ribbon cutting dinner, or exhaustive tour guide rehearsals and elaborate scripting for events that used to be commonplace. We believe that these little things matter. And back to that exceptional staff, I love that there is no employee too great in GMSD to assist with these events. Pulling off a graduation celebration, for example, that our students and families deserved, took a Herculean effort by the entire district and high school staff. This year, the teamwork displayed by GMSD leadership and the school board members included in this was astounding. Each person contributing their special skills and talents was making for some great, amazing moments during this event. I'd like to read you some feedback from an originally very pensive audience when we announced that we were doing a drive-through graduation. I just wanted to say thank you so much for your part in the amazing over-the-top graduation celebration. We were completely blown away with the way things turned out. I appreciate the thought you put into every single detail of the day. My daughter felt so very special in that fun car, and I know that that had to be your doing. All of the seniors felt special, and graduation may never be the same. This one came to the superintendent on the far right. Last week's event was a culmination of great memories of Houston High School for our son, and it reminded me of why we chose Houston 4 years ago over both public and private school options. The focus on a quality education, great student experiences, and faculty and staff that cares about students and their development makes me proud to say that my son graduated from Houston High School. And I feel like these comments speak for themselves, and there's more, and so I'd be happy to share those with you at a later time. But the most important question that we have to ask ourselves when we're planning these events and we're investing such time and such manpower in is simply, how are we connecting our guests to the only thing that matters? Our students. From motivational speeches to holiday parades, school tours, how are we emotionally connecting our community to our students? Whether that's through pride in our accomplishments, the beauty of a musical performance, the rush of a big win on Friday night, we believe that matters. So where do we go from here? I don't know about you, but I'm really excited about the opportunities and the challenges that I know we'll be facing next year. And with that, I'd like to turn it back over to the superintendent.
Thank you, everyone, for your presentations. I know we've gone a little bit longer than we'd originally planned. Ms. Luter, I know that y'all have been sitting and listening for an extended period. I do go for a long period with my presentation. So if the board is willing to take a 5-minute break so that y'all can have a restroom break or do whatever you need to do, I think now would be the time.
I think that's a great idea. And so I have that it's 11:31, and I will call us back to order at 11:36.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fisher, are you ready to continue? Ms. Flanders, I see you.
Yep.
Ms. Griffith?
Here.
Has Ms. Oaf joined? I don't think so. I haven't seen her. And Ms. Fisher, are you back?
She may be muted.
Yeah, I was going to give her a second to get unmuted and say, I'm here. Ms. Fisher. Ms. Fisher, are you present? I'll text her.
I was texting her right now.
Oh, okay.
We can start if you're ready, Ms. Fluter.
Okay. We are ready to continue from our break. I do want to say thank you to all of those who presented earlier. I really enjoyed seeing everybody's different personalities in the backgrounds of the presentations. Seems like when we're not face to face, we pay more attention to the actual presentation than we are often in person. We're facing each other and paying attention to one another's faces. So thank you for the time that you took to put into those, but especially I'm just reminded of how it seems like a lifetime since COVID began, and yet there was so much that was accomplished in the first 3 quarters of the school year, and I'm glad not to forget it. So thank you for those recaps. Mr. Manuel, with that, we will go to the superintendent evaluation portfolio.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the board for the opportunity to serve as the first and the current superintendent of the Germantown Municipal School District. I've had the honor of working in the Germantown community for over 25 years, and you can see that little picture right there. I think I look like I'm 12 when I started. Even when I started in 1995, my calling was to serve students. And at each step in my career, my servant leadership has had not only a positive impact on students, but also on my peers that I worked with. I think a quote from General Mark Welch, who is the former Chief of Staff for the United States Air Force, best defines how leadership is an act of service. And he said, leadership is a gift. It's given by those who follow, and you have to be worthy of it. So I want to reassure the board and our community that I will always strive to treat our students and our staff as individual GMSD family members. And I want to earn their support of my leadership. So as we move into the evaluation rubric, I think it's important to highlight that despite the last 9 weeks and the impact of the pandemic on families, this has been one of the most successful years for the Germantown Municipal School District or for any district in Tennessee. And I'm so excited to celebrate with you the success of this past year. And I'm thankful to all of my team members who helped make this year possible. This is a group effort. It really requires a lot of collaboration. So let's go ahead and move into the rubric. So the first indicator that y'all seen in the rubric, and y'all have this emailed to you, it's the same rubric as last year, but it is regular communication. So if you look, the difference between being effective and highly effective is that I keep all board members informed, and the key word is regular communication. That's why it's highlighted. Well, we've gone well beyond regular communication for the school board. We're not just sending you an email. I'm not just calling you to give you updates. We also have strategic and in-depth communication for the board. I make sure that we provide superintendent reports that hit all parts of the strategic plan throughout the year. You can see some of those images there of the title pages. These reports are also easily available on our webpage, and they're archived so that if board members or if community members want to go back and look at information, they can find those on our website. And so if you want to tell your stakeholders, hey, this is why we voted a certain way, you can go back and share that information. I also provide a district update, and that was formerly known as the superintendent's report for our board members. And we transitioned away from the old bulleted list of updates to a monthly magazine-style newsletter. I personally choose the topics to provide detailed stories that provide board members an in-depth look at school operations. And I think that the board benefits from the detailed knowledge of the operations because y'all are the true advocates for our district. And when you read these district updates and know about how does the evaluation system work, or how are we training to deal with students that are in crisis, you can go out and really talk to our constituents and talk to our stakeholders. A new addition also this year was the inclusion of a calendar of events in the district update. And so board members can know there are lots of opportunities for them to be present and plug in. In fact, too many. It's hard for you to attend all those events. The next two indicators focus on board materials and questions. And the difference between effective and highly effective materials is, do we provide supporting information in order for the board to make informed decisions versus do we only include some supporting information? When we look at the board questions, the difference between effective versus highly effective is, do I thoroughly answer questions to all board members? Once again, I think this is an area in which I excel. We spend a large amount of time creating 1 or 2 page infographics for our board members that not only answer questions, but provide visual charts and images that can meet the learning styles of all members. Once again, we design these so that you can go out and share them with our stakeholders, with your constituents to explain board decisions. Some examples of those infographics we made this year include capital projects presentation, the COLA stipend discussion that we had in December, when we talked about access to technology for our families across the district during this pandemic. I also share some more detailed reports. So besides those 1 to 2 page infographics, there are times when we have very difficult decisions to make as a board. And so we can go ahead and switch to the next slide. So some examples. Recently, I created 3 reports to keep the board and community informed about district action and planning during the pandemic. We covered GMSD distance learning, questions of equity, the road to reopening task force, and all the decisions that we're currently working on. But then I also created and presented a study on transfers earlier in the year to help the board make decisions on proposed policy changes. I've included digital and verbal updates on the land exchange with maps, and then we do a detailed analysis of any agreements that come before the board. So you can see there's a section highlighted in the agreement, and we can talk about the implications when the board's getting ready to vote. One of the best examples of board materials, I think, beyond all those, is what we've done around the strategic plan. And we've really spent 1.5 years preparing for the strategic plan. We researched in-house and created comparisons of strategic plans of comparable districts with similar demographics that were ranked nationally on the niche surveys. The board also had over 400 pages of feedback from our community, either from the forums or from the surveys. And then I enjoyed putting back on my teacher hat and designing activities for our board that were engaging and helped us focus and create our vision, our mission, and our goals that will guide us for the next 5 years. And I remember talking to a lot of the board members after this. This was one of the best, most productive meetings that we had had up to that point. I think we've had others since then, but the collaboration and the work and really going through those activities was something special. So we can move on to the next indicator. It is proactive policy analysis. So the difference between effective and highly effective policy involvement is whether I am proactive in the determination of district needs and policy priorities. So as you're aware, our district stays ahead of changes in the state legislature through our subscription to the Tennessee School Board Policy Service, but we also have a policy review calendar. My involvement with the Tennessee Organization of School Superintendents, TOSS, and also the Association of Independent Municipal Schools, which is the AIMS group, those have also provided me with recommendations that I brought before the board for policy changes. However, there are several examples where I've recommended a policy change based specifically on our district needs. So recently, policy 5.305, we worked with Ms. Speakman to create the new FMLA policy that would help inform our staff of their rights and also be compliant with federal requirements. I also recommended changing our transfer policy so that the district can make staffing decisions based on resident transfer applications. If we hadn't made that change, we would not have been able to grant any transfers at the elementary school level. So those are just two examples. Next indicator focuses on district image. And I think I saw Ms. Oaf join us. Welcome, Ms. Oaf. Thank you for joining. So if you look at the next indicator in the rubric, it focuses on district image. So the difference between effective and highly effective is, do I actively promote a positive image of the district? This is one of the areas that I enjoy. I enjoy the opportunity to provide a motivational speech at each in-service. We also use that to serve as our theme for the year. This year, I shared our whole child message, which was #BelongGMSD, with both the staff and to parents at their PTO general meeting. I'm a regular speaker at the Kiwanis, Rotary Clubs, local realtors. Know that there is a speaking tour that we go on to also share highlights of the district and our theme for the year. My team uses opportunities like the holiday parade and contests like the Memphis Business Journal, which was their Building Memphis competition, or the Commercial Appeals Top Workplaces to highlight our district. We know that what we are building excels. The experience our staff have in our district are incredible. And so those are ways to really share with the broader community what we're doing in Germantown. And then I created the Tour GMSD Day that brings in the Leadership Germantown class and prospective parents. Attendance at this event has grown exponentially. I realized that a tour of the building doesn't show you the programs and really connect you with the students at Houston. And so I think all of you have had the privilege of going on that tour and seeing how wonderful Houston High School is. Another area, we have turned simple ribbon cuttings into extravagant events. The goals for these events is not only to celebrate a new building, but highlight how we're changing education. We invite our aldermen, county commission, state representatives, and senators. We provide tours to our taxpayers, neighbors, and future parents. And we purposely rehearse these tours with our guides to not only promote the facility, but the district and the great things that we're doing, because we know those are the people who are going to be making decisions that impact our schools. A perfect example of how I actively promote the district was also our community graduation experience. My team worked for weeks to develop an event that showed our community that we understood how important the celebration was for students and families. We know that we've invested in those students for 13 years, and this had to be something special. Many of you board members stayed for multiple hours, and my cabinet served over 12 hours, creating a once and a lifetime experience. So thank you for your participation in that event. And I think, as you saw in Ms. Stratton's presentation and Ms. Crowder's, the feedback that we got from community was wonderful. We also improved our Leadership Germantown tour by embedding leadership lessons that not only highlighted our district, but showed how we value building consensus, community engagement. And Ms. Luder and I actually got to tag team a teaching lesson on active listening. And we put the Leadership Germantown class through some real examples so that they could understand that all the decisions that a board make are not easy and they're multifaceted. The last example of how I actively promote the district were our numerous groundbreaking events this year. We designed these events to thank our community partners while also highlighting our successful programs. And once again, we tie everything back to our students and how it's going to impact them. The next indicator is communication with the community. The difference between being effective and highly effective is actively seeking alternative means of contact with the community. My team has used text, emails, social media, letters, and our website to engage our stakeholders. But this year, we also increased the mobile-friendly engagement. We created templates for our district and school level administration. So when they were pushing out flyers, when they were pushing out information, it would come across that smartphone in an easily usable manner. We've continued to use social media, and you can see our growth metrics on Twitter and on Facebook. They continue to increase. My team this year, this is something new, also created a district-wide parent engagement series that notified parents of our focus group opportunities through the strategic plan, the Tour GMSD events, and available committee work in the district. But as you know, the most effective form of communication is really face-to-face interactions. And this year I created a new council for our community partnerships, the CCP, to really bring together all the groups of stakeholders who support our district. And we're going to continue this series in the fall. And we expect that through this organization and through this meeting, our partnerships are going to grow. The strategic planning process also allowed for many face-to-face committee meetings with staff and parents, and y'all helped serve on those committees. Then we experienced the COVID pandemic. It provided the opportunity also for multiple forms of communication with our community, even though it was during a time of crisis. We created a central landing page on our website with detailed information coming from the CDC, other organizations. The district also created 2 emails for staff and parents where they could email questions or comments. These were coming directly to my inbox, to my cabinet's inbox, the school level administration, and we would get together as a group to develop our FAQs for parents. And also for those individuals who had very specific questions, we would assign who was going to contact them individually. So it was a really good form of two-way communication between our parents and our staff. We held several virtual academies for parents and staff, and these Google Hangouts also allowed for two-way communication because there were cabinet members serving as the moderators on those meetings. And they would answer questions. On one Schoology Hangout, we had over 120 parents in attendance. That is incredible. I think the one following that had 70 parents. So our parents were also engaged with that two-way communication. And then last but not least, our social workers and counselors provided communication that allowed for immediate feedback and mobilization of resources. And we had several families. It not only impacted our staff, like Ms. Stratton shared, of family members who lost jobs and we had to add them to our insurance. Our families were struggling and they were able to reach out through this two-way communication, and we were able to put them in touch with available resources to help them through this crisis. So it was really a team effort to make sure that we were communicating in multiple ways with our families. The next indicator is engaging with the media or media relations. The difference between effective and highly effective is if I initiate and actively engage the media. Well, we weekly check in with reporters, and you can see examples of the GMSD news releases that we push out to our local media. And a lot of times the stories that you see on the news or in the periodicals or magazines, whether it's online or the Daily Memphian or Commercial Appeal, those are stories that we have pushed out to them, and they come and they follow up on that story. If you do a quick Google search of Jason Manuel, July 2018 to May 2019, it will generate over 50 stories in the news where I've been quoted promoting our district. So know that I'm approachable and they can get in touch with me, and that's that relationship that we built with those media sources. The next indicator is approachability. The difference between effective and highly effective is if I attend a variety of events and if I'm approachable. You can see some of the images of just a few of the events I attended. I think what's special about each event, and I don't want to have to highlight each one of those, is that I'm not only the superintendent, but I grew up in these schools. I'm a parent. I'm a member of the community. We've sat on the sidelines with these parents. We've attended choir events with the parents. I know the families from years and years of interactions. And I think it was apparent at graduation, it was really hard not to hug so many of those kids that I've known since they were little, and now they're getting ready to experience something special. I have a connection to the students and parents, and we are the GMSD family. So when I'm out at events, just as when you're out at events, the parents, the community come up and talk to us about concerns, questions, and we help answer those for them. The next indicator is visibility. Highly effective in this indicator is exemplified by regular visits to buildings and schools. And you can see some of the examples where I read to classes, where I've emceed events, whether it's the spelling bees, which are really hard to MC, whether I'm delivering accolades to students or staff, or even if I'm just dancing in the halls to celebrate with the community. Know that that's something that is special, and I don't want to miss those opportunities with students because, once again, that's why I got into education. The next is internal communications, next indicator. Highly effective in the indicator is characterized by a system of keeping staff informed of important matters. This year, we had a new staff letter called the Staffer, and I won't go into a lot of detail about this, but this took a lot of planning and effort. That is a true example of a system. It's strategic, it's planned. I have an open message that ties to our yearly theme. Our HR department has a section called Let's Talk that reviews important policies and resources. There's a district updates section that covers other policy changes and district initiatives. This was a true system to really reach out to our staff. Our central office departments have also created their own regular communications that target specific groups of employees, whether it's our TLA department reaching out to math teachers, science teachers, or exceptional students department that are reaching out to other groups, smaller groups of employees. or even the redesign of our webpage with our HR department. Another systematic form of communication that was shared earlier is the new cabinet communication, or the CABCOM. This communication is a weekly newsletter for all of our administrators. It has a section of items, action items or tasks, and that's just a compliance piece. But we also have, and I think it's more important, a section for professional development, where I actually, with my staff, create scenarios that challenge them to think about real-world situations they're going to experience. That communication is archived for a quick summary, for a quick reference, like Ms. Crowder shared in her presentation. Next indicator is personnel matters. To be highly effective, we would need to be proactive and routinely discuss personnel policies. I think we do a lot more than just routinely discussing those policies. Each year, my HR team and cabinet members go around to each school's faculty meeting, and they present presentations highlighting the key HR policies for that year. This year, our presentation was called HR Hot Topics. But then also they get a monthly reminder in the staffer in the section called Let's Talk, where we cover key policies and how staff are supposed to behave and how they're supposed to respond in specific situations. The next indicator is delegation of duties, or developing our school administration. If you look at the indicator, the difference between effective and highly effective is the fostering of professional growth, leadership, and decision-making skills. This year, we started the Pro Ethica series for our administration, like Ms. Stratton shared in her presentation. It's a multi-year professional development for administrators. We're also going to push that down to teachers to help them solve ethical dilemmas that do not have a clear solution in policy. There's a lot of times where it's in the gray, it's not black or white. I've also leveraged the experience of my cabinet to help us develop our school principals. Each principal was assigned a cabinet mentor who would help them during the school year and also assist them through the evaluation process. The focus committees of each strategic plan goal were also led by a team of cabinet members, and you also served on those teams with them. And then finally, we provide differentiated pay positions for our staff who want to take a leadership role, but may not necessarily want to leave the classroom. So you can see a lot of these positions. Some examples, we are adding 2 fine arts positions, lead positions next year through differentiated pay positions that are really going to help guide our district. So we can go on to the next indicator. The next indicator, and a lot of this was shared in Ms. Stratton's, is do we recruit the best staff? Do we actively recruit the staff? I think the best example here is the School Snapshots event. What a better experience than to come in, to meet the students, to meet the families, to meet the teachers, and really experience our school communities. So if you've I think a lot of you have been able to attend the School Snapshots events. You know how special this is and what it does to make sure that those applicants actually come and apply to our districts after they've attended our events. Other examples of how we recruit the best staff. If you look, we do a lot of work around entering contests like the Top Workplace, and we are proud that we have won the Top Workplaces for the Commercial Appeal for 5 consecutive years. Know that this is a way to recruit the best staff. If you look at what it's done in our current open positions in the districts, for our 2 assistant principal positions, we had over 95 applicants. For only 19 teaching positions, we had 624 applicants. And then for 2 speech and language pathologist positions, we had 10 applicants. And those are not common around the state because a lot of those individuals choose to work in the hospital settings. So our reputation is preceding us, and our HR staff is going out and recruiting the best and brightest. They attend career fairs, and they strategically choose where to go based on the state's assessment of educator preparation programs. We also make sure that with our student teachers and interns, we have opportunities to draw individuals who want to become teachers into our district. And then a lot of those individuals will then choose to apply for our district. And then there are other things that we do to recruit. For example, I'm thankful to our board for approving the COLA stipend for our staff. That helps us go out and recruit competitively with all of our stakeholders. Next indicator is long-range fiscal planning. Mr. Jones and his team, we work really hard to make sure that the board has a balance of information so that they can look at long-term but also short-term needs for our current and future students. That's why we're relating our budget document back to our 5-year strategic plan. We have charts, we have graphs that help you understand how it's going to prepare us for the future. And I think the fact that we've been able to build a reserve that's prepared us for this difficult time, and we actually have some good news to share. The sales tax revenue from March and April, we have not seen a decline during this crisis. And so the preparation that we have of building up that reserve and preparing for this, we think that there was a shift. A lot of the people who were spending money out in retail stores or at restaurants were then spending money in home improvement stores and at the grocery store. So for us, we do think there's going to be a negligible impact with that sales tax, especially for March and April. So I'm excited to see what's going to come. But we were prepared, even if it was the worst case scenario, because we have been able to build a reserve. If we can switch to the next indicator, which is regular budget reports. Note too, the difference between effective and highly effective is, do we discuss ramifications of changes when the board is having to make a decision around the budget? So you can see the charts or graphics that we have provided an example. You know that on each of our budget amendments, we talk about the rationale for the change and why it's necessary. So at each meeting, we try to provide a detailed budget report that helps the board understand why they're being asked to make specific changes. Next is facility management. We have a whole other strategic plan for our district. Mr. Cathy did a good job of sharing some of the work that we've done since we've been a district, but know that the difference between effective and highly effective is, do we have a plan to secure funding? And I think as you're aware, we worked really hard to get a steady flow of county commission dollars, and we have seen that this past year. We were receiving 80% of our funding from the county commission ahead of time. That's what that little chart or graph shows there, is how we are receiving our funding as a district. And we're excited that I worked really hard as a superintendent to achieve that. We also work hard with other donors to make sure, and partners to make sure that we receive funding. We're thankful that the city is going to continue funding that $500,000 for Dogwood Secure Entrance, and that progress is starting. So as Mr. Cathy shared in his plan, we do look at all the different funding streams and we braid them together to get our projects complete. You can see that there, the picture of the secure entrance at Houston High School that was also funded by the city, or the private donors in that picture too. So we can move on to the next indicator. Excuse me. Do we use resources to meet our district objectives, specifically our long-range objectives? A perfect example is how we rolled out the blended learning plan. And you can see the strategic goals that we had from 2016 to 2020 of how we were going to add devices, upgrade our infrastructure, plan for our teachers. That has allowed us to be able to pivot into this virtual world of learning that we may experience come next year. Other examples of how we use resources to meet district objectives would be around school safety. So as you're aware, we receive a school safety grant, and we have used it for bullying prevention programs, capital improvements to cameras, secure entrances. We've had a focus around school safety. Then two, we want to focus on our students' transition and the Transition Academy. We now have 2 vans to take our students out to work-based learning opportunities. They're going to prepare them for the real world. There's nothing more special than helping a student achieve their goals. And then last but not least, we are making major improvements to the CTE programming at Houston High School, and we are upgrading spaces there to change a woodworking area into a career studio at Houston High School. It is going to be something special. Next is my role as leader in the Southwest Core and my professional knowledge. So know that I know you're aware that I serve as the leader for the Southwest Core, meeting with superintendents. You can see some pictures there where we're meeting with our local school board members. It also allows me to serve on the executive council with just a handful of superintendents who meet with the Commissioner of Education to really promote our district, gain increased knowledge, and then grow as a professional. But then I'm also sharing that information out. We also use activities, events, to share our professional knowledge with others. I think if you ask people around the state about Germantown schools, they know that we have incredible academics. But when we had our TSBA meeting, which was a regional meeting of school boards and professionals, superintendents, I want to make sure that we were sharing our fine arts program. So we worked to create a really special event so that when they left Germantown schools, they knew that we are doing incredible things around fine arts, not just around our academics. And then this year, I'm thankful to Ms. Griffith for helping us revitalize the annual legislative breakfast. It was a really special event. I think we heard from a lot of the board members and people who attended, and they realized our passion for education, and it allowed us an opportunity to really advocate for our students, advocate for our district, and share our professional knowledge of what's happening. And as you know, I'm a vocal spokesperson against vouchers. We used our ability to create infographics. We've shared it with other board members. We've shared it with legislators. We've shared it with media. Know that we're trying to show the applications and answer all those difficult questions that some people can't understand because education funding is a difficult process. But that's our way, my way of really sharing my knowledge and being an advocate for the district. The next indicator is students are our top priority. I think if you look at the difference between effective and highly effective, it's how are we communicating our decisions that we are maximizing student potential. If you look at all the different presentations we do, it always relates back to how it's going to improve students' performance, their ability to succeed. So you can see all those examples of presentations. You can see what we have done financially and how we allocate our funds. Over 75% of our budget is directed towards maximizing student potential. And then also our investments in the whole child, because you know that a student can't succeed if they're dealing with social emotional issues. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We've got to take care of them personally before they can learn. The next indicator is instructional development. And do we have short and long-term goals established for our schools? I've shared with the board before in our district update, the report that I give the board about annual measurable objectives and double AMOs that we have for our district, how we have to complete detailed plans in E-Plan, and how we have to grow as a district. My team also goes around to each school and we meet with the administration of those schools and we develop detailed plans based on their data, based on individual student need to help them grow. We align the resources and supports and programs to make sure that those schools are successful. Whether it's E-Plan or student data tracking, know that we're gonna push their goals for the year. Next indicator is GMSD PD aligning with our district goals, staff development. Ms. Stratton did a wonderful job of presenting all the professional development that we do. I'll just have a couple highlights. Know that we created a flex professional development that's differentiated towards our staff's growth so that they can impact student achievement. There were over 475 sessions offered this year with over 5,000 instances of participation. And I think the best example has been a pivot that Ms. Ledford has done this year, and she works in Ms. Price's department. She is providing one-on-one, non-punitive instruction where she will go into a teacher's classroom, give them constructive feedback, and they're counting that as their flex professional development. So it's that personal one-on-one touch. It's like going to a gym and having a personal trainer with you versus just watching an exercise video on TV. Those are all examples of how we're targeting our staff to help provide very differentiated professional development. Other examples of PD for our staff is, once again, the Pro Ethica online program that we developed this year, our blue chip programs where each cohort has different needs, and we've targeted a PD program around those needs, regardless of where they are in their professional journey. And you can see the rosters of the distance learning opportunities, and we saw a dramatic increase during this time where this pandemic, where teachers were at home, and a lot of people took advantage of our professional development. Next is the gold standard in curriculum. Do we have an ongoing review process, and do we meet the needs of our students? This is something special for our district. I know that we were talking about recently the reading bill. They were trying to target that reading bill around our success and what we did. Know that we combined a language arts program with a phonics program. We have the top of the line programs for math, expeditionary learning with it, which is language arts 3 through 8. Know that we have rubrics. If you look at ed reports and you put in our materials there, we really do have the top of the line in curriculum. And our TLA department is always focused on providing the best for our teachers and our students. So that concludes the basic components of the rubric. The next are specific goals tied to the strategic plan. And as I opened, when I said, not only has this been an incredible year for Germantown, but this would be an incredible year for any district in the state of Tennessee. Our data is incredible. Our success is incredible, even though we didn't get the opportunity to finish the year. So the first goal that I had was ensuring an academic program that differentiates to meet the various student learning styles. Know that that's how we achieve such success for students. So if you look at the ACT college readiness, and that means, and that's that first chart, that students at the high school are hitting all of the benchmarks, whether it's in the reading, the language arts, the social studies section, the math section. Know that they have to hit every single section. They can't be just good at one section and let that cover them. We moved this year from 60.5%, and we've had a steady increase for the past 4 years, to 87% of our students hitting that metric. And if you study statistics in education, a 0.2% increase is statistically significant. This was almost a 27% increase in our students' performance for this past year, an incredible achievement. If you look at what happened with the students scoring over an overall 21 on the ACT, we went from an 85.6 to an 86.2%. That's a record. That's a record in the state. It's something special. And this truly is a focus on students because it's not just what they're doing in high school. The ACT is a culminating event that measures everything they've done in their education career. Every teacher who has worked with that child from preschool all the way up into their senior year plays a role in these scores. And so teachers across the district can take pride in these metrics. And then last but not least, we set a state record for the highest district ACT average of 26.3 in the state ever. An incredible achievement for our district and for our students. Tennessee Ready Achievement, we don't have the data, obviously, because we didn't have the ability to finish that. But when we were looking at just the literacy rate, if you look at the test that we had in December, we were already ahead of where we were at the end of year test in the year before. We were really close with the class of 2030. In December, they were already at 91.2% proficiency. And we are sure that those students are continuing to grow, and we are going to grow them when they return. And then last but not least, our graduation rate is over a 95%, and know that we can't always control that metric because it takes into account some of our special needs students or students who have moved out of the district, but that is something that we can take pride in, that it's continued to grow every year. And then below you see some images of how our department and how our team have really pivoted to provide differentiated instruction during this time. The choice boards that we had in our schools, the learning opportunities, our high school Schoology assignments, know that very quickly on day one, when students and parents returned from spring break, we had activities, we had opportunities, we had professional development ready for them to return. That was a quick turnaround for a district. When you look at the next goal in my plan, exceeding or objective 2.2, how do we develop all staff through our professional evaluations and professional development opportunities? I think I won't spend a lot of time on this because we've spent so much time on the PD, the Flex PD, all the different sessions that we've had, the Blue Chip program. Know that we have a lot of differentiation. The addition of a component, things that make you go, scenarios for our administrative team in the Capcom and the staffer, know that we have numerous ways of providing professional development for our staff. And then the last goal that we have is establishing community partnerships. Know that we have lots of different ways that we do that. Mr. Jones, myself, Ms. Crowder spent a lot of time helping the Germantown Education Foundation grow their new board. They held grant workshops. We had over 70 applications for grants through that organization. Our partnership with Knowledge Tree, they granted for us teacher shopping sprees that provided media for us and also for their organization. We also had 2 long-term partnerships that have now blossomed into something even more special. So our partnership with GPAC, we now have master classes when they bring in professional musicians with the Irish Orchestra. They work directly with our students. And then with Methodist Hospital, know that we now have several students every year who are graduating with their certified nurse assistant certification. They can go right into the workplace, and that's a career and have a job. If you look, there's an example there of Mr. Bruns playing along with the Houston band during our groundbreaking event. We always tie it back to students. That's a special relationship with those partnerships. I'm thankful that we get to have a game show every year. Our partnership with Landers Ford honors our teachers and pays for special prizes in a special event. If you look at our partnerships with our work-based learning organizations and businesses that are actually providing opportunities for students to be employed. There's a picture there of our Leadership Germantown relationship. They came up on the weekend and actually installed a sensory hall into Forest Hill. It's an incredible event. And lots of other opportunities, whether we're talking about our college and career fair that we helped grow by 461%. We are dramatically increasing our relationships with our businesses. So I know that was a lot. I talked really fast, but this school year has been a tremendous success despite all of our challenges. But I think what I'm most proud of when I look back on it is the fact that we have a collaborative culture. We've created a situation where all stakeholders are looking for opportunities to engage with our students, with our staff, because we all want the students to reach their full potential. This focus is evident in our data. It's helped us reach record heights in the state. And I look forward to our next chapter in Germantown schools and serving this community for years to come. I'm thankful to you board members for joining in the fun, for joining in the events and all the opportunities that we have. And I look forward to what we're going to do next. That concludes my presentation on the superintendent's rubric and evaluation.
Thank you, Mr. Manuel. Just a quick question. I know we have about 40 minutes left of the time that we scheduled. Is that sufficient to go through the strategic plan update?
I believe it is. We have practiced this. We can make it tight. We're going through just the first part. Like I said, this is our first touch for the strategic plan. The board is not voting on this plan today. We really want to share the strategies that the staff and committees have developed through this. So I think we can get through it quickly.
Okay, then I'm going to suggest that we not take a break and we continue to move on.
Okay, Ms. Crowder, if you can show the next slide. So the strategic plan 2025, we're ready for the next 5 years of a school district. And I know that with this team, this organization, we can achieve incredible feats. So let's talk about the process that we've been through. Know that we have been on a journey for a year and a half. The board has established a mission and vision, and this strategic plan is really going to guide us to help us achieve our goals. You can see that's some of the evidence, some of the parking lots that we created during all of our different committee meetings. We've had town hall meetings, we've had surveys. This has been a long process for us. Know that we had a lot of research and planning to really get ready for this, from the listening tours, the town halls that we had to really provide the board the voice of our stakeholders, to actually developing the activities and the plans behind the process to really help guide our board through that work session where we developed our vision, our mission, and y'all helped to achieve those goals, to defining the strategic focus committees that we had. So as you're aware, our board did set a vision and mission, inspiring personal excellence, which helps focus on each student's own experience. Our mission to cultivate the knowledge and skills that empower our students to achieve their full potential as lifelong learners and contributing global citizens. And then, of course, the board established goals for us: engaging, challenging, and innovative academics, development of the whole child, recruit, develop, and retain exemplary employees, resource management and long-term planning, and community partnerships. So we're going to take the time to go through each of these. Thankfully, the board served on each of these committees, and we're part of this process. So we'll go with the first one, Ms. Crowder and Ms. Huffman.
So I'm going to step in. This is Mrs. Price. And so
Ms. Price, right?
One for Strategic Plan 2025, Engaging, Challenging, and Innovative Academics. Ms. Huffman and I paired. Ms. Oaf sat in on our community meeting. Our first objective is to develop and effectively implement an aligned, responsive, standards-based curriculum relevant to our students' world, marked by high levels of student engagement, meeting the needs of all students, and aligned to the district vision, supported by district office. I know that's a mouthful, but we really wanted to hone in on all the really important pieces that are going to drive this goal. We have got to focus on students. And so with all those pieces together, we feel like we can get that done. So first, we want to make sure our teachers have time to collaborate. They have time to hold each other accountable and share with each other the things that are working for the students in their classrooms. In the future, we would love to develop a master teacher program, which would include a teacher at each school that specializes in good teaching, as well as good relationships with other teachers. This takes the evaluation process out of the equation, and we can make new teachers and teachers that we currently have the most effective they can be. Secondly, we'd like to add specialized teacher assistants to be the liaisons between teachers of special ed students, of students that are speakers of other languages, that can help students make that bridge between their gen ed teacher and other support services. Of course, we're going to continue professional development. We're going to differentiate that professional development around the evidence that we see needed in our schools. One thing that's going to stand out this year is we are going to have to up our game in blended learning strategies. We've come a long way in 4 years, but this year will be a year like no other. And finally, we want to make sure our staff have the resources they need for our students to be the most prepared for any post-secondary choice that they make. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Huffman.
Okay. While GMSD outperforms statistically when compared to many districts across the state, we know there are always areas to grow. Upon examination of our data, GMSD is driven to improve achievement for all students. Specific to our next objective, we will ensure equitable outcomes for all students and work to narrow the achievement gap as seen in student subgroups data. What do those acronyms stand for? ED is economically disadvantaged. EL are English language learners. BWN is our Black, Hispanic, and Native American population, and SWD is our students with disabilities. Through collaborative meetings and planning, we will accomplish this objective by implementing the following strategies. Tier 1 instruction will be strengthened through targeted professional development specific to supporting all students through programs like the Special Education Development Grant. This 4-year grant has already shifted to support digital learning and in-person student learning. We will continue to utilize both a skill and standards-based benchmark to measure instruction effectiveness. This data will be used to develop personalized learning plans that target students in need of intervention or enrichment. Finally, we are committed to strengthening our grading practices over the next 4 years with a phased-in approach to truly reflect every student's progress towards the standard. Ms. Price?
In Objective 1.3, we want to provide equal, high-quality, innovative, and authentic instructional experiences through differentiation and supportive services for all learners. For our partnership with ESE, we are going to focus on Tier 1 and Tier 2 students during each school's designated time for response to intervention. Right now, we're in the midst of really diving deep at the middle school level. Ms. Harper?
Sure, because I highlighted the Special Education Development Grant in the last objective, I want to focus on the exceptional work occurring for our students identified with intellectually giftedness. We plan to capitalize on the time Ms. Price described earlier by providing students with enrichment opportunities in their area of giftedness, not just in language arts. We've already communicated with families, held meetings when requested, and updated plans to reflect this new support. We are currently in process of selecting curriculum writers for our middle school interventions to support this enhancement through a competitive application process. Teachers will have the end product in hand prior to school starting this fall. Ms. Price.
So with that, we are going to continue to provide that ongoing professional development for differentiation across all students in our schools. And objective 3 is to make sure our teachers are ready to meet the needs of each and every student. And I think that rounds out academics.
Yes. So I think if we want to hold board questions, instead of having them at each section, we can do a question and answer session at the end, just for the sake of time. So if we want to go ahead to number 2.
Okay, 2.1. So the first task we had when trying to determine what was important for this goal, we had to first define whole child. We agreed on a definition taken from the ASCD, which is the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. A whole child approach to education is defined by policies, practices, and relationships that ensure that each child in each school, in each community is healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. Bullet 2.1. The Office of Coordinated School Health has increased its efforts to grow community awareness of school health initiatives by increasing participation in its Walk Across Tennessee before and after school student and parent program. Knowledgeable information from healthy school teams, communication, grow participation in a walk to school days. Gather PTO, parent input on physical activity, such as recess, equipment purchased, and increased its parent clinic volunteer participation. Additionally, the Office of Coordinated School Health monitors the in-kind hours of each school's community efforts, volunteer time, and fiscal donations related to school health initiatives. The Office of Coordinated School Health works diligently to monitor state legislation, Tennessee Code Annotated, and Tennessee Department of Education recommendations to ensure that all school health policies are updated and serve the best interest of all of our students and staff. In the 1920 school year, we updated our student wellness and administration of medication policies language to assure that GMSD staff and students are protected accordingly. We will continue this important work moving forward. And lastly, the Office of Coordinated School Health, in partnership with Healthier Generation, aids each school in assessing its overall wellness annually. Each school completes an annual school health index, which looks at the 8 components of school health. The school health index determines the strengths and weaknesses based on research survey questions, and aids each school in developing its school action plans. The action plan guides school health teams in its effort to grow in school health initiatives. 2.2. In order to have a complete school experience, we feel that students must be engaged outside of the classroom as well as inside of the classroom. Each GMSD school offers a variety of clubs students can join in order to feel like they are a part of something that they enjoy, which may contribute to the student's educational experience with GMSD. GMSD offers various programs to help students' growth and provide opportunities to give back to the community. Some of these programs are SWAT, Leadership Academy, and Honors Academy. 2.3. We feel that it is vital to students that we identify any social emotional issues as early as possible. We currently use the following data to identify students that may have needs to be addressed: absences, tardies, grades, referrals, office referrals, and clinic visits. We would like to refine the process so that all students are identified in a timely manner. Once students are correctly identified, we would then like to have levels of tiered support available so that students receive the social, emotional, and academic supports needed to be successful. We will continue to provide social emotional education and support for all students by continuing the OVEAS rollout. We are currently in year 2 of the rollout, and the rollout typically happens over a 2 to 3 year period. We will also continue to actively look into restorative practices and restorative circles to see if these practices will be a good fit for GMSD. We will continue to encourage students to report incidents of feelings of unrest to a trusted adult on campus. 2.4. GMSD takes pride in creating an environment in which students feel safe and secure while on campus. We have made major upgrades to every facet of safety and security since the district was created. We know that it is important for students to take an active part in keeping each campus safe. We have and will continue to encourage students to report anything that makes them feel uncomfortable to a trusted adult on campus. If students don't feel comfortable speaking with an adult on campus, we also have anonymous alerts, and students can make reports without fear or anxiety that their peers will find out. And for those that feel better speaking in a group setting, we will continue to offer avenues to speak on school culture such as SWAT. Ongoing education for all students and faculty about the importance of doing simple things around campus helps us keep everyone safe. We will continue to develop PSAs for important issues that arise in the community. So far, we have created a short video for anonymous alerts and for our class campaign. These are videos that can be shown from time to time that stress the importance of vital safety measures for all GMSD campuses. And that is the conclusion of Go To.
This is Alyssa Stratton, and goal number 3 focuses on the recruitment, the development, and retainment of an exemplary staff. And our first objective relating to goal number 3 highlights our commitment to recruiting the best, brightest, and diverse talent who are passionate about their work. Okay, got it. We plan to continue strengthening our relationships with local colleges and universities so that teacher candidates are able to come to our schools for semester or year-long internships or field placements, allowing them to get a firsthand account of what it's like to teach and work in GMSD. In addition, we're going to be and can continue to be strategic in choosing which university career fairs we participate in by utilizing the state of Tennessee's Educator Preparation Report Card. This resource provides a wealth of information pertaining to a university's educator preparation program, such as the number of graduates that are graduating with specific endorsement areas, the demographic makeup of student graduates, and overall educator preparation effectiveness scores. We want to target the teacher candidates who come from the most robust and successful educator preparation programs in the state to recruit to work for GMSD. And recruiting veteran educators to work for our district will continue to maintain a focus. Promoting our annual school snapshots recruiting events, utilizing our frontline job posting site, tapping into the new teacher job connection database, and our partnership with Kelly Services will help us to create a pipeline of certified and appropriately credentialed educators. And the support we have already received from our GMSD school board with solidifying a 2% increase across all of our salary schedules, revamping our assistant salary schedule, and transitioning to a percentage-based pay system for our coaches, directors, and sponsors has placed us on the right track when it comes to offering a competitive compensation packages for recruitment purposes. Over the next 5 years, we're committed to continuing conducting comparative pay and benefit analysis for our various employee cohorts, whether it's through the exploration of hard-to-fill signing bonuses or shared benefit premium costs. Our goal is to continue to hover around the top 10 list of school districts for staff compensation in Tennessee. Our second objective relating to goal number 3 focuses on developing qualified and caring staff who employ best practices and research-based strategies to maximize student potential. We will offer support by providing coaching, mentoring, and the on-the-job professional development to our non-tenured teachers through our Blue Chip program. We're also excited about the possibility of expanding our Blue Chip program to support our cohorts of teachers who are at various stages in their teaching career, such as teachers with 10 to 20 years of experience, and then those teachers who have 20 plus years of experience. Each cohort of employees have different professional needs that the district can help to develop no matter what stage of their professional journey they're in. And part of developing our employees will be through meaningful and ongoing performance feedback, which will reinforce strengths and help to refine challenges by utilizing our administrator, teacher, and classified performance evaluations. In addition, we want to grow and challenge our teacher leaders by having them serve in various leadership roles at both the school and district level. COVID-19 has taught all of us the need for flexibility and adapting quickly to changing needs, and the professional development we provide to our staff moving forward will be ongoing and include a variety of face-to-face and virtual formats for our employees to participate in throughout the year. And meaningful PD is a responsibility that all district departments and schools are committed to offering our staff. And you'll notice that the wording for our objectives and strategies consistently use the word staff. Over the next 5 years, we want to make sure we are including our classified staff members in our discussions and actions as we develop a qualified and caring staff to work with our students and families. So once we recruit the best to work for GMSD and help them to develop their educational talents, we need to make sure we retain our highly skilled employees who are dedicated to developing students' academic, social, physical, and emotional well-being, which is objective 3.3. In our strategic plan HR focus groups, and board member Ms. Fisher, she can attest to this, we spent a lot of time talking about the qualities of those staff members who are not just able to effectively teach the content, but staff members who make it a priority to build positive emotional relationships with students. And we are committed to keeping staff members who are able to balance all of the needs of our students, as well as upholding the utmost professional dispositions. We'll do this by maintaining a competitive compensation package for all employees. If we want to keep the best, we have to make sure our pay and benefits are aligned. In addition, GMSD is committed to offering our staff employee resources that promote physical, social, and emotional well-being for them to utilize. We'll continue to communicate resources offered from our employee assistance program, as well as analyze our current benefit options for employees to make sure they have a wide variety of options to promote their individual health and well-being. And then finally, as a district, we will promote a positive culture where employees feel respected and valued, celebrating the successes our employees have throughout the year and listening to employees when they have concerns helps to instill a culture where employees feel appreciated. And we plan to continue honoring and listening to our employees through blue chip pinning ceremonies, 10-year celebrations, retiree luncheons, school district celebrations, district level department roadshow tours, conducting stay interviews, and feedback received from the Tennessee Educator Survey. So at this time, I think I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jones for goal number 4.
Okay, we're ready for the first slide. So this is objective 4.1, allocating resources for our various strategic plan goals 1, 2, 3, and 5, which are allocating resources for engaging, challenging, and innovative academics, development of the whole child, recruiting, developing, and retaining exemplary staff, and also allocating resources to enhance community partnerships. Objective 4.2, enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of financial processes. As we move forward, we like to or plan to relate the budget development process to the strategic plan. We also plan to redesign the budget documents for next year, so it will document such. We want to enhance the use of online payment systems for parents, such as My School Bucks. Evaluate and plan the uses of reserves to reach district goals and prepare for unplanned cash flow. So that could be for technology initiatives, again, cash flow, projected loss in sales tax revenues, as well as capital projects. And finally, as our Title I funding, additional funding ends after the 2020-21 school year, we will need to evaluate the decrease in funding on instruction and support. Objective 4.3, developing long-term plan for capital improvements and resource development. We want to increase the usage of the purchasing card program to generate rebates from vendor payments. Create an alumni association to generate possible additional resources for capital or other campaigns. And we also plan to continue to pursue various grant funding initiatives. And of course, continue to implement a 5-year master's facility. And that wraps it up for me. On to Ms. Crowder.
I believe that Mr. Kathy is next.
Okay, so this is Goal 5, Community Partnerships, and I'm going to just cover Goal 5.1, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Crowder. So Objective 5.1 is to extend student learning. Sorry about that. To extend student learning through partnerships between the school and the community. And we plan on doing that by developing our real-world or authentic opportunities to extend learning. As Mr. Jones just mentioned, leveraging the alumni through the establishment of an alumni network and maintaining and improving our current relationships with partners that support the district. And finally, building and maintaining relationships with external stakeholders, be those state and local government, churches, civic groups, residents without school-age children.
Police officers involved in George Floyd's death. The charge against Derek Chauvin, the
Chairman, oh yeah, I'm ready to go. So GMSD is ranked currently as the #1 best school district in the state of Tennessee on niche.com, and also has an incredible reputation around the state and other local entities and publications. But as we look to the future of the district, in Objective 5.2, it's time to envision promotion on a larger scale. So we hope to increase awareness of the excellent education and the innovative programs offered at Germantown Municipal School District. Our focus will include the following types of efforts: to continue to make the district's online presence stronger through social media, the development of an app and other mobile-friendly technology, a revamping of our website. Those are all cited strategies inside of our strategic plan. We are hoping to provide professional development and other resources for every staff member in GMSD to aid in district promotion, as they could be an incredible force for good when it comes to promoting the excellence happening in our district. Understanding the importance and reemphasizing of student voice in all of our promotional efforts is also a big part of this part of the strategic plan. We want to develop an annual physical publication to be used as a touchstone for accomplishing other goals in the strategic plan, including staff recruitment, prospective student recruitment, obtaining resources from our community partners, and then of course, celebrating our students and staff. And then finally, the continued intentional marketing of new programs and education shifts, keeping our stakeholders constantly informed and engaged. From school attendance zones to capital improvements, the district routinely uses focus groups, town hall meetings, diverse work groups, and surveys. We want to continue to engage with our stakeholders stakeholders, and we want to couple that with a strengthened internal communication program to ensure that all of the changes being made at the district level are well understood by stakeholders. So to accomplish this, we're going to focus on Objective 5.3. GMSD will actively seek feedback to develop and strategically promote district-level initiatives by doing the following things: expanding our leadership training, continue to engage with stakeholders to gather feedback that will guide the district initiatives, and then, of course, to expand the opportunities being provided and the efficiency of those opportunities for stakeholders to learn about new district-level initiatives. Our last objective is focused around the very, very vital family outreach in GMSD. So ensuring a world classroom to home information pipeline would need to begin with an analysis of current tools in place for parent communication. The establishment of trust and shared values between the district and the parent community are paramount. Offering new opportunities for parents to engage in our schools will help drive the entire strategic plan initiatives to success. So we're hoping to strengthen our current parent outreach and engagement with the goal of building positive pathways of communication by using and constantly evaluating the toolkit that we're providing our staff and families. The district would also like to provide multiple and targeted avenues for communication after that analyzation. The development of parent professional development opportunities like the parent academies, a speaking series, or even parent leadership seminars have been mentioned inside of this plan. Mostly, though, we want to work with our parents who offer an incredible amount of support to continue providing experiences for our students that extend beyond our classroom walls. And that is a brief summary of community partnerships. Mr. Manuel?
Yes. So I think the next step is just to take us back to where we were when we started this process. A year and a half ago, we had a really incredible school board work session that helped us create the vision, the mission, the goals. Then the staff has gone and we have worked even through the committee work, and the board members were able to serve on that too to help us create the plans. And now our objective is to adopt the plan, go out, promote this plan, and evaluate the plan. We know that because of this pandemic, we faced some challenges. Our original timeline was delayed, but we know that if we experience what we saw on the Schoology Hangouts or the professional development that we provide to parents, we think we can share and promote this plan through virtual town halls and have a series that focus on each goal and go into more depth on each of the plans. So our objective would be to share these, plan these, promote these in the next couple months. And of course, they'll be recorded and posted just like we always do. With that, that was a much quicker presentation than the highlights that we've had for the district, but this is the culmination of a lot of work for our staff. I'm thankful for everybody who served on each of these committees, and we look forward to the next steps. Ms. Luter, if you want to turn over to board questions, I think we have time.
Mr. Manuel, I want to just ask, what is the process for board response? Are we going to schedule another meeting now that we've had a chance just to see this and hear it? I mean, certainly we probably have some questions and we can go through that, but I wonder if we have more in-depth questions.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Yes, I think that is something that would be recommended as we are sharing this out to the community. Know that we can plug this in to our upcoming meetings moving forward. We can add work sessions. I think that's really the will of the board.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I'm going to go through the board members and just ask if you have any content questions for today, but I do think that it behooves us to take a little bit of time to process this, and 10 minutes probably is not, actually I know 2 minutes is not sufficient for us to adopt something and move into the future with it. So I'll work with you, Mr. Manuel, to schedule another time for us to have another work session as well. So I'm going to start.
Yes, I think before we move on, I think the objective here, like I told the board, was first touch, first exposure to this. We all have received the plans. This wasn't a voting meeting or a business meeting for us. So this really was first touch, and the plan is for us to revisit and go into more detail.
Absolutely. I just want everybody to hear that, and community to hear that as well when they hear the recording again. So just quickly, Ms. Fisher, do you have any comments or questions?
No, but I do appreciate what you just said, because I was having the same feeling. I appreciate the brief overview, but we just received the whole document yesterday, and there's a lot to dive into. So I would appreciate, like Ms. Luter said, having another time where we could exchange some of our questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Landers?
No questions at this time. Thank you for so eloquently expressing what I think all of us are feeling. This is a lot to digest and go through, and I'm going to have to sit down and take some time with it before I can really have questions. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Griffith?
Thank you for this nice overview, and like you say, Superintendent Manuel, first touch. To reiterate previous comments, this to me is one of the most important things that our body is tasked to participate in, and there's definitely going to be more time needed to take this first touch and go back to what we previously talked about, have questions, work through those to add to what we want to do for the future of our district. So thank you for today, but thank you for also Chairman Luter suggesting that we, of course, continue this conversation, and I look forward to doing that. I think this is just so very important, and this is just kind of the beginning, even though we've been pushed back for obvious reasons out of our control.
Thank you, Ms. Griffith. Ms. Oaf?
I concur with my fellow board members. We just got this document last night, and though we've had this wonderful presentation, I need time to sit with it and to read over it again, and to make my notes, and kind of put together some thoughts and questions, because like Ms. Griffith said, this is an important document. This is our guiding document for the next 5 years, and I would be thankful for additional time to ask more questions, to maybe have the board look a little bit about what our focus is also in these goals, and how do they align with these objectives, or do we need to adapt some of those. So I appreciate the thought that we will be revisiting this in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oates. The fact that we have 6 minutes left, and it took us 3 minutes to say, essentially, there's a lot here, says to me that the only way to honor all of the people who have participated in getting us to this point is for us to pause and to allocate the time to really understand each of the objectives that have been proposed for the strategic plan to be implemented. And I want to say thank you to the cabinet for doing an incredible job of having great community partnership meetings, and very creative opportunities for us to participate and be a part of creating the objectives, or fleshing out the objectives in the strategic plan. And I think it would be a disservice to all of the hours that have been spent already on it for us to say, okay, sure, sounds good. I don't want anybody to hear in this that the board is not appreciative for all of the hours that each person on the district staff has spent. And many of our other staff people, as our teachers and our administrators, have been an active part of creating the bullet points of how we get to those objectives that we laid out a year and a half ago. It seems impossible that it was that long ago. But I'm excited about where we are, and I'll work with Mr. Manuel. We'll get a doodle out to make sure that we set a work session when we've all had some time to sit with this presentation and with the document, and develop our questions, as well as think through the strategy to get to where we can be in 2025. We're starting in an incredible place, and the hardest, and it sounds incredibly cliche, but the hardest place to go is from good to great. And when we strive for personal excellence, that is a focus on the individual that requires us at a macro level to do a lot of work and thinking about how we get focused on the micro need. So thank you for everybody's work on this. Mr. Manuel, do you have some closing comments?
I would just want to say thank you to the board for taking us on this journey and moving down this road. And we look forward to going into more detail and sharing all the components of the plan that you received. Like I said, the goal for this was never for us to approve this and be done with it, because obviously this isn't a voting session. The goal was for us to start discussing the product that has been produced from our different committees. With that, we don't have anything further, but I do look forward to seeing everyone this evening for our normally scheduled work session and business meeting.
Yes, we will meet at 5:30 this evening. Thank you, everyone. We stand adjourned.